So, what's up, everyone? It's been a crazy day. I had a meeting with a client for a Freak Chef gig coming up in 3 weeks. Very excited about. It was about an hour away, an hour and 15 minutes, whatever. But anyway, on my way back, I saw this really cool food store, and I was like, "Whoa, I want to check it out." So it turned out to be pretty crusty, uppity, through the nose fucking store. And of course, they're looking at me walking around the food store with handcuffs hanging off my nipples, shirtless, barefoot, of course. And I found some veal. And I love exploring food stores and different like cooking stores and stuff like that. So um, I went in and it was really cool. So they had veal cutlets and everything. So I bought like since I had a cooler going out there because I had to do a bunch of samples for them for a like a tasting that I do for certain clients when they want something. And so I already had a cooler with me that I brought ingredients out there with to do certain things. And I figured, why not stock the cooler up? So I bought some veal. Hell yeah. So I figured tonight for dinner I'm going to make some veal parmesan. I had some leftover tomato sauce that I made the other night, my homemade tomato sauce, which I'm going to eventually make a video of that and how to make homemade tomato sauce. But I still had some left over in a container and everything from some pasta when I was making homemade pasta. So I figured, well, why not? I have some mozzarella cheese, some leftovers from a previous gig, and I found this awesome veal. So fuck my shit. We're going to do veal parmesan. You can do this with chicken. You can do this with pork. I mean, you can do it with a lot of different things. But veal parmesan is one of my favorite dishes, and I was very excited when I saw it in the store. Because my regular butcher, I have to order a week or two out to get veal. And this was cut so thin, right in the package. I just bought a bunch of packages, and I figured before I start vacuum bagging the last of it, I'm gonna eat it, and I'm gonna show you guys how to eat it too. Now, it's veal parmesan. This is not like veal with Parmesan cheese on it. It's actually Parmigiana, which is from a region of Italy, or the place where this recipe originated from, as far as I understand. Depends on how my thinking brain works. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys how to make my veal parmesan. So let's get started. So, I already laid everything out. I got a pan heating, and I already started simmering my tomato sauce. And look at that. You know that you simmered your tomato sauce right when it's not splattering on the lid because it's not making a mess. That's how you know you simmered your tomato sauce right. All right, so I'm going to start with, I guess, our egg. I already set up like a 3-part breading station thing going on here. And you're going to need an egg, some breadcrumbs, and I used unseasoned breadcrumbs, regular breadcrumbs, not panko breadcrumbs or anything like that. I use flour. I'm going to use the egg. Let's put some water in there. There we go. Because a little bit of egg with some water works great. Heat it up pretty good. I also preheated the oven to about 475, 500 degrees. It wasn't 500, but anyway. And that's just regular oven setting because we'll get to that in a little bit. But I wanted to do that while I was setting this stuff up so that's good and hot, just like I was simmering my tomato sauce that I had left over from the other night in a back pot. So we're going to start with on our veal. And again, you can do this with chicken. You can do this with a number of different things, different meats. There we go. A little bit of salt. I'm trying to finish off this pepper grinder, so I'm just going to use this. Takes a while to get it out, but hey. Sometimes people like to add some garlic and other seasonings to it. I don't do that. My tomato sauce is perfect, and that's where a lot of the flavor is going to come from. It's nice and warm, simmered, reheating it. Um, you can add like basil, oregano, parsley, garlic, onion powder, whatever you want to do. You can. I like to keep the meat as simple as possible. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to give these a light coating in the flour. Egg. Turn this over. Just a couple times, but I'm good with just doing it once. I want a very light breading. I don't want anything very thick or very heavy on these. We are going to start getting our pan ready. It is pretty hot, so of course that's why I dropped the heat a little while ago. We're going to use butter and olive oil. Remember, olive oil is going to help keep the butter from burning. So now that we have a hot pan, I like to put the olive oil in there. See how it's kind of smoking a little bit? I think that heat is just up a little too much. We're going to go ahead and pull that off the heat and let that cool a little bit. Our pan, like I said, was pretty hot. We had that going for a while, so we don't want the olive oil to burn. So if we put the butter in there, it would turn brown immediately, and all of a sudden it would get burnt. So, and keep that off the heat for just a little bit. So it seems like at this place that like I was at today, they've never seen someone walking around the food store with handcuffs on their nipples before. Fuck my shit. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's like 32 degrees outside, but you know. Yeah, I know. Where the fuck have you people been all your life? Let's go ahead and let's start introducing our butter here. It's been at room temperature, so there's nothing that's going to drop it anytime soon. But there we go. At least the butter's not turning brown. So that means I think we're good to go. All right, so let's start introducing our veal into that. Again, this is our breaded veal. There we go. All right. We're gonna let that simmer for a little bit. I'm gonna do a little cleanup. When we come back, we're gonna be ready to turn those. All right, so you're doing really nice. We can actually pull our heat back up. I want to make sure that these things start really getting kind of crisp a bit. And now they're kind of shrinking down. They've been in the pan a little bit. They're going to start getting more contact with the bottom of it. Just going to leave that there. And at this point, now that I know that the butter's kind of hot and the pan kind of regulated its heat, I just take a little bit of garlic clove and I just drop it in a little bit. I just like that, adding that extra garlic punch to it. And even though we're not going to use that later on in the recipe, I just like that to start infusing into the butter and the oil that's in there so it starts seasoning the meat a little bit. And here we are. So 2 minutes aside is all it really takes to start off. We're going to go ahead and give those a turn. So those are just beginning to get golden. And you'll know that because you're going to see the edges start turning different color as well. And I like to take the outsides and move them to the inside. This way everything becomes evenly cooked. And we're going to keep letting those get golden on the next side. Like I said, guys, 2 minutes aside, and look at how nice that looks. All it takes. It's not a very hard recipe. It is so easy. And we're going to check on this in about another minute and a half. All right, so we're getting a nice little thing. Hasn't been sticking to the pan at all. And if you notice how little oil or butter is actually in there, because we're not frying these, we're just browning them. We don't want to make fried veal or fried chicken if you're doing this with chicken. We're just trying to get these nice and golden, get the cook started. And because we're using veal cutlets, these literally take just a couple minutes. And then technically, those are done. So, well, almost done. But they're ready for the next phase, which is going to be some of our marinara sauce and some cheese. And I'm going to pull that stuff out right now. This is perfect. Nice and golden there. And we're going to go back, give it that turn it deserves. All right. There it is. So that is done. I'm going to go ahead and pull these big chunks of garlic out so when we plate it later, they're not in there, but we just wanted them in there for flavor. We can go ahead and kill our burner heat. And let me get a ladle. Back out of the way. See that? Not a drop on the lid. That means our sauce was simmered at the perfect temperature. There's no splatter. Remember that, guys. Okay. Now our oven has been preheated, and I reheated some of our leftover sauce from last night that I made. Watch this. I'm gonna pour the sauce over this. And then we start topping this with cheese. Some mozzarella I had. Cut this down the other day. Okay, now off this goes into our oven to let that cheese melt. If you don't have an oven safe pan like I'm using now, or you're doing it for a larger party, you can do saute or kind of fry up all the veal ahead of time, or chicken, whatever you're using, and then put it in large sheet pans with the sauce and then the cheese, and then bake it in the oven. You're just doing it until the cheese kind of melts on a nice kind of here and there, a little bit of a crisp on it. But I can show you a trick to that because the veal is very thin, so we don't want to overcook it or it gets very tough. But let me throw this out. All right, so it's been in there about a minute and a half, going on to 2 minutes. I want to check on it because, yeah, that cheese is melted. And again, we're dealing with veal, not actual chicken. So veal is a little more delicate and not as resilient as chicken. So that's okay, though. We don't want the veal to overcook. We want it to still be tender and beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this out. I'm using a spatula to do this. Okay. This looks a little messy at first. That's okay. There we go. We're going to clean this up here in a little bit. And what I like to do is finish it off with a little fresh parsley. And then I have some of this Parmigiana cheese. You could do it with Parmesan if you want, but I was snacking on this last night. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to use a coarser grate on this. Right in. There we are. That right there is my veal Parmesan. If you want, you can also, if you want to give it a little more brown on the top, take a blowtorch, light her up. Want to make it look like a little more burnt. You can do that. Get just a little bit of color. You want to do that. Remember, you're just trying to get the brown on the cheese, mostly. And there you have it. My veal Parmesan. So, hope you guys like all my recipes. Thank you for watching and following and all that. Check my Patreon and all that. Pain Freak Show is still the Patreon. But hoping you guys are finding my new Freak Chef channel, because I migrated over from the Pain Freak Show to Pain Freak Chef on YouTube. If you want me to cook for your private party, if you want an erotic culinary event night, bachelorette parties, whatever it is, play with me, not your food. But man, I could cook for you. More information on my website. Check it out right there, painfreakofficial.com. And find out how to book me to cook for your private culinary party. I think it's time to eat now. Love you guys.